I've always been an audiobook person. While I love physical books and the way they look and feel, I just can't get over the fact that I can lay down, close my eyes, turn on an audiobook, and just disappear into another world. I've always been very good at visualizing my thoughts, so listening to an audiobook is like watching a movie for me, but just in a lot more detail, as I don't have to deal with the cuts and the changes they made for the film adaptations of a certain story. So when I heard last year that Audible was making special edition, full cast audiobooks for the entire Harry Potter series, I was extremely excited. Not only would each character be a unique voice actor, but they had taken the time to add music, sound effects, and create an ambient atmosphere that truly transported you into the wizarding world. Or at least, that's how I thought it was going to be. After the first one released in November of 2025, they've been releasing the remaining books one by one every month. So far, they've gotten to the Goblet of Fire, with the Order of the Phoenix arriving in March. So why am I talking about this? Well, first of all, I'm a Harry Potter YouTuber, so it's kind of my job. And second of all, I wanted to let you all know what the experience has been like so far, and this will be really helpful to you if you've been on the fence about jumping into these new releases. So in this short video, I'm going to give you my honest opinions and reactions to books 1 through 3 in this series, and I'm not holding back any punches. While there is a link in the description that helps support the channel, Audible does not have a contract with me that binds me to only sing their praises, and I do have some criticism and complaints about these new audiobooks. The real question is, do the pros outweigh the cons? And that's what I'll be addressing today. So why am I just talking about the first 3 books? Well, because they created all of these around the same time, they had to employ 2 sets of actors for the main cast. Young kids for the first 3 books, and then teenagers from the Goblet of Fire onward. So I wanted to separate the reviews as the rest of the series isn't out yet, and I'll reserve my judgment for the older actors until everything is released. But for now, I've finished the first 3 and am ready to discuss the first half of this massive project. If you're new here, my name is Gibby, and I'm the creator behind Factor Fantasy. You've just stumbled upon the Harry Potter branch of my videos, as I also talk about Lord of the Rings on my main channel, so be sure to sub to both of the channels if you enjoy both of those series. Anyway, before I get into things, I want to of course shout out Jason, Joshua, Timothy, RoboSteve, and the rest of my incredible Patreon and YouTube members who help make these videos possible every month. Now let's get into it. Like I said, this is going to be a pretty quick video, and I'll be breaking things down into 2 major categories: the acting and then the mixing. When I say mixing, by the way, I'm referring to the way that the sound engineers combined everything together: the music, the effects, and the voices. But first, let's start with the acting. This is probably the biggest hurdle that I had to overcome. You see, I've been listening to the original Harry Potter audiobooks for years, so to suddenly go from my precious Jim Dale narration to a whole cast was a bit of a shock. Even if you're prepared for it, your brain still has to get used to it. Despite us being used to different actors in movies, our brains aren't generally used to the audiobooks having an entire cast of actors, because typically there's just the one narrator. Now, speaking of the narrator, I've got to say that Cush Jumbo did a surprisingly good job. She narrates the entire series, start to finish, which helps give a bit of stability to the shock that I mentioned earlier. And it isn't too abrupt or unsettling to switch from the voice actors to her as a narrator. Her voice smoothly transitions between characters, and I couldn't be happier about that. But what about the actors? Well, this is where I have my first issue. There are a handful of characters who I have not enjoyed throughout the first 3 books: Peeves, Snape, Madame Pomfrey, and Draco Malfoy. However, my dislike for these interpretations vary, and most of it is rooted in what I had already heard from Jim Dale or the movies. By the 3rd book, Madame Pomfrey is kind of bearable for me, but at first it was a bit of a shock as her voice sounded so much different than the movie Madame Pomfrey. Snape was a similar situation, and probably amplified by the fact that Alan Rickman had such a legendary voice in the movies. If you get these audiobooks, be prepared that Snape doesn't sound bad, but he sounds a lot slimier and higher pitched than the deep monotone voice of Rickman. Then there was Peeves, who was unexpected as we obviously don't get him in the movies, but I'd heard Jim Dale's interpretation of him and loved it. This new Peeves is like nails on a chalkboard though, with a sing-songy voice. Literally everything he says is in song pretty much. He's like Walmart Tom Bombadil. But then I had to remind myself that Peeves is meant to be annoying, so perhaps this feeling is what I'm supposed to get whenever Peeves appears in the story. And finally, there's Draco Malfoy. Now, I don't know the child actor who portrays him, and I'm not trying to speak ill of this kid. After all, I usually default to blaming the directors who are guiding the actor in their performance. But anyway, it is almost impossible to get through because of one key detail: his laugh. There are lots of points in the books when Malfoy laughs, usually when making fun of Harry or being a bully in general. But this laugh is one of the most fake laughs I've ever heard. There's something uncanny about it, as your brain naturally says, there's not a kid in the world who laughs like this. It just sounds so forced. Thankfully, it isn't happening all through the book, but anytime a scene with Malfoy would pop up, I almost instinctively cringed in preparation for that laugh. Anyway, I know I've ranted a lot about the few negative points of the actors, but what about the main cast? Well, Hagrid is fantastic. I was skeptical at first when I heard him meeting Harry for the first time, but now 3 books in, I'm positively attached to this new Hagrid, and I almost wish that this guy could play Hagrid in the upcoming show. As for Dumbledore, he might be better than the movies. Obviously, I have a major attachment to both Richard Harris and Michael Gambon, but as many fans have pointed out, movie Dumbledore doesn't really capture the true nature of the quirky headmaster's personality that we get in the books. Hugh Laurie, however, does. He can be serious when necessary, but he also provides the levity and the silliness that Dumbledore seems to always maintain. The true test will be whether or not Hugh Laurie can delve into the darker sides of Dumbledore as we progress into the Half-Blood Prince. But so far, for these first 3 books, I'm loving the whimsical nature of Dumbledore in the full cast version. And the trio? Well, they're great, especially Ron and especially in The Prisoner of Azkaban. As book fans know, The Prisoner of Azkaban is really when Ron shines, standing on his broken leg, ready to fight off Sirius Black to defend his friends, plus many more great moments throughout the book. In particular, there is one moment when Scabbers is thought to be dead, and Ron is broken up about it, shouting at Hermione because he thinks that her cat, Crookshanks, is the one who killed him. It actually sounded like Ron was crying while yelling. It was the most authentic emotion I had felt from any of the trio throughout the first 3 books. So I wanted to make sure to give props to the voice actor, Max Lester. And as for Arabella Stanton, she did a great job as well, and I look forward to seeing how she does in the upcoming TV show. But that's enough talking about the acting. Let's talk about what I actually consider the most important part, and that's the mixing of the audio. And again, there are pros and cons. Obviously, the pro is that you truly get absorbed in the world. You hear absolutely everything. There really aren't any details missed. Whether it's the sound of footsteps on pavement while they're in London, or birds chirping while Harry passes Aelop's Owl Emporium in Diagon Alley, they covered all their bases. They have even gone as far as to write out and add their own ad-libs in the background to make the background chatter seem real. For example, with Cush Jumbo narrating, the book might describe how Draco Malfoy was reenacting Harry's encounter with the Dementor on the Hogwarts Express. While in the book, this is simply a bit of text, not actual dialogue from Draco, this new version will add a faint sound of Draco in the background talking to the Slytherins. It's not overpowering the narration, but it's just enough so that you truly feel like you're walking by the Slytherin table in the Great Hall, which in my opinion is exactly what I wanted out of an audiobook project like this. So what are the cons? Well, there is one that is in their control, and then there's one that is out of their control, and more of a me problem. First, we have the one that's in their control, and that is the panning of the audio. For those of you who don't know what panning means, it refers to the audio shifting to the left or right ear. They take full advantage of this so that if you're wearing headphones, you'll have a 360-degree audio experience. If someone is talking on the right, you'll hear them in your right ear. If they're behind you, you'll hear them behind you. It's pretty cool. But there's one major downside to this, and it's that the audio engineers went a little wild with this technology, and it seems a little uncanny at times. Specifically, when someone is on the right or left of Harry. In general, the headphones act as Harry's ears. You're pretty much hearing everything just as Harry would have heard it. So if Harry is in a room and someone is to his left, they pan that person's voice to the left, but a little too much. You see, while human ears hear on the left or the right, we also pick up the reverberations from off the walls. So if someone is on your left while you're in a room, we don't just hear them in our left ear only. We hear them a little louder in the left ear, but all in all, we're still hearing their voice bounce around the room and land in our right ear as well. That gets lost in translation when listening to this new audiobook. To continue the left ear example, you tend to hear things 90% in the left ear and about 10% in the right, when it probably should be more like 60-40. Good news though, there's a solution. When the first book was released, I was almost adamant that you needed to use headphones to experience this project. But now, 3 books in, I'm probably listening with my phone speakers more than half the time, and this completely eliminates the panning problem. While it also slightly detracts from the ambiance, you still get to hear all the sound effects and music, but without the crazy left and right panning. Anyway, I also mentioned a second problem that's outside of their control, and that's what I want to end this video on. You see, I'm a fast listener. Audiobooks, and I mean all audiobooks, not just these new ones, are usually extremely slow. I think this is because they want to make sure that the general audience can understand what's being said. After all, you can speed up the noise without much issue, but you can't really slow audiobooks down without making the narrator sound drunk. Go ahead and give it a try if you've never done that before. So usually in the audiobook world, Audible or not, there are parameters that are set for narrators, and typically it's very slow. That way the listener can speed it up if they'd like. Audible has a great built-in feature for that, as do most audiobook platforms, and they even let you go up to 3 times speed, I believe. I usually listen to the Jim Dale narration at about 1.5x. But when you're listening to an audiobook with music and sound effects, you can't speed it up, which means that I'm stuck with the slow narration. And normally this would be fine. But you know when it isn't fine? When kids are talking. I mean, what kids actually talk that slow? And you really notice this with Fred and George Weasley. Fred and George are quick-witted twins with quick mouths as well. But that gets totally lost as the actors for Fred and George are forced to talk at the same speed and cadence as everyone else. This issue kind of makes everyone meld together and lose their unique voice and style, because every character is made to speak at the required audiobook speed. But like I said, you can't speed it up, because that'll ruin the background music and the sound effects. I feel like most people wouldn't notice or care about it, but for someone like me who always listens to books at 1.5 or even 2x speed, this can be quite infuriating. However, and this is a big however, I believe that the pros outweigh the cons. I know this video seems like I'm dragging this project through the mud, but that's because no one is clicking on this review to hear me talk about all the good things for 10 minutes straight. You can find that pretty much anywhere else. You guys already know that I love the books, otherwise I wouldn't promote them in the description. But I wanted this video to be very honest about my thoughts so far, and if there were any negatives, I wasn't going to hold them back. But ultimately, here's what I want you to take away. 1. The music is incredible, and the ambient sound effects really make you feel fully immersed in the wizarding world. 2. The unique voice actors for each role help bring things to life in a way that even Jim Dale can't accomplish. And 3. If you're a Harry Potter fan and have yet to pull the trigger, I'd encourage you to do so. And because I have an affiliate link in the description, you can try the first audiobook for free. That way, if you don't like it, you don't lose a penny. Also, the link helps to support the channel, even if you end up canceling your free trial. So it's a win-win no matter what. Anyway, that's enough yapping from me. If you've listened to the full cast audiobooks, what are your thoughts? Drop your thoughts in the comments below to help some other people figure out if they want to jump in or not. Have a great week, and I'll see you in the next video.